So it shows this picture, and we're talking about mainly electric motorcycles in Kenya. And this picture was taken at a gas station. But this guy's got his motorcycle and he's swapping out the battery.
They're called Boda Bodas. They're kind of like a Uber, the type of situation, but instead of a car, because obviously cars are very expensive, these guys go around these motorcycles and they pick up passengers.
3.6% to 7.1% from 23 to 24. So 24 was 7% of the motorcycles. 68,000 registered, of which 4,800 were electric. Hi, I'm David with EV World News, and I'm back today with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going today, Bill?
Well, it's going on less than an hour's sleep.
All right, so let's talk about Kenya. Not a country we really ever talk about, but so it shows this picture, and we're talking about mainly electric motorcycles in Kenya. And this picture was taken at a gas station
with the battery swapping.
But this guy's got his motorcycle and he's swapping out the battery.
These are called, I think they're called Boda Bodas. They're kind of like a Uber, the type of situation, but instead of a car, because obviously cars are very expensive, these guys go around these motorcycles and they pick up passengers and take passengers to, school or work or appointments, that type of thing. So this is the Kenyan
You're
version.
hauling a passenger around on your
on the back of a motorcycle. Yep, but it's got to be faster than the three-wheelers that they have in India. Or the tuk-tuks they have in India. Because those are like 25 miles an hour or something. These, of course, can do 40. I would imagine 40, 50 miles an hour. So it's a way for guys to make an income.
Oh yeah,
and it's a clean way to make an income.
That's real. I don't know. I've seen pictures of people on like a scooter with their two kids on the back of it. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's just hard to fathom seeing something like that here. You'd get pulled over for that here in America. But we're talking about Kenya at the moment. In 23, there were about 71,000 motorcycles sold in Kenya, of which about 2,500 were electric. So that means 3.6%.
And it's going up?
Yeah, no, it's gone up. Let me see if it gives numbers for 24. Okay, so it went from 3.6% to 7.1% from 23 to 24. So 24 was 7% of the motorcycles. 68,000 registered, of which 4,800 were electric. ArcRide is an e-mobility battery as a service provider. Announced $5 million of financing from British International Investment, which is the UK's development finance institution and impact investor, provide affordable, reliable, and clean e-mobility solutions for rapidly developing cities in Kenya. We talked once, what was it, about Ethiopia banning gas cars. And then when you start doing research, it's like there's like 2 cars for every 1,000 people in the country. Now, they use bicycles and they use motorcycles, but it's very rare for somebody to have a 4-wheeled vehicle in a lot of these countries. Now, there's not just challenges for having electric, in some of these countries. You have a challenge even having gas stations. So a lot of these places, the energy is having to be trucked in somewhere, whether it be diesel fuel to power generators for electricity or whatever. When they can get it, a lot of these countries benefit from hydroelectric.
One of the major crimes in Nigeria is theft of gasoline.
Oh,
either they tap the pipeline, or they steal it when and where they can. Because again, that's if you're dependent on gasoline for your motor vehicles, you're gonna have to get it from somewhere, and a fair share of that is on the black market these days in some of those countries. Not all of them, but some of them.
It's interesting that they're doing this battery swap technology, because I wouldn't think it would take that long to charge up a motorbike. Maybe it does, but it is interesting because once again, you've got all this big bank of batteries that are charging that can be helping stabilize the grid as well, right?
One would think it'd be interesting to get somebody. Hey, if anybody over there in Kenya and Nairobi is listening, we'd love to talk to you about, how this is being done. Is it being used from renewable energy? Are they? I don't even know where a lot of that power comes from in in the country. Something I should probably look up.
I've noticed before that a lot of your African countries are really heavy in hydroelectric. And because of pressure from like the World Economic Forum and stuff like that, they really don't have the amount of fossil fuel generating power stations. So they've really held down that. They don't use as much in Africa fossil fuel type energy for electrical generation.
Well, it depends on, I guess, depends on where you at because, there's so much fossil fuels, both onshore and offshore in West Africa.
Mm-hmm.
But East Africa, I'm not so sure. I haven't really done a lot of research onto where their energy comes from. But I agree. I think probably a fair share of it comes from hydroelectric. Obviously the headwaters of the Nile, is in northern Kenya and those areas. So it wouldn't surprise me. Of course, they may have a lot of natural gas. They sit on a rift line because if you've been following this much, East Africa is slowly separating. It'll take a few million years, but slowly separating from the rest of Africa. Down the Rift Valley is eventually some point going to be the new, what are we going to call it, Indian Ocean or whatever it ends up becoming. So they may have a lot of hydro or geothermal energy they could tap there.
Yeah, maybe Africa will have its own ocean then.
Well, that's neither you or I will be around to see it, but that's
No.
that's the direction it appears to be going. So, yeah.
The clip you just saw was part of our live podcast. If you enjoyed it, don't miss out. Join us every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday right here on EV World News. We stream not just on YouTube, but also on Facebook and X, so you can catch us wherever you prefer. If you found this content valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, and to share to help us grow. If you'd like to support our work, please consider becoming a YouTube member. It really helps us bring you the latest EV news and insights. I'll see you in the next one.